The new girl.
It was a crisp Tuesday in September 1997, and Emma Carter's bedroom was a messy sanctuary where sunlight fought its way through the blinds to draw long zebra-striped shadows across the floorboards. At 7 a.m. sharp, the dusty digital font on her vintage alarm clock flipped, sounding the official call to another day of middle school. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, rubbing the sleep from her eyes while still tucked into her oversized pajamas, a classic 14-year-old silhouette against the morning light. Her desk was a crowded museum of the decade. Then came the first big decision of the morning. Standing before her mirror, Emma weighed the merits of two different plaid flannels, trying to find the one that felt exactly like her. She eventually settled on a favorite, sitting down to pull her worn-out high tops tight. After grabbing her yellow Sony Sports Walkman and sliding on those familiar foam headphones, she headed downstairs with her backpack slung over one shoulder, still feeling like a bit of a sleepwalker. In the kitchen, the air was thick with the scent of sugary cereal as Emma poured milk into a bowl, the bright colors of the meal contrasting with the wood grain and beige of the 90s decor. The cereal box itself was a relic of the era, complete with a bold, free toy inside label. With a quick goodbye to her mother and a Pop-Tart in hand, Emma stepped out into the sharp autumn air. The neighborhood was quiet, the trees already boasting vibrant orange leaves, and a bulky station wagon sat parked in a nearby driveway like a silent guardian of suburban life. She walked along the sidewalk, kicking at a dry leaf and keeping her eyes on her own feet until something unusual broke her concentration. A large moving truck was parked just 2 doors down, and men were busy hauling heavy boxes into the house. Emma paused, her curiosity piqued, as she adjusted her backpack strap. She caught a brief glimpse of a girl standing by the truck, just a silhouette really, holding a skateboard, but the moment passed quickly. Shrugging it off, Emma continued her walk to the bus stop just as the yellow school bus screeched to a halt, puffing out a cloud of exhaust steam. On the bus, she took her usual seat by the window, watching the familiar world blur through her own reflection on the glass. Soon enough, the red brick of the middle school came into view, the American flag waving over a gathering crowd of students. Inside, the hallways were a frantic river of teenagers and clanging metal lockers. Emma worked her locker combination with practiced ease, left, right, left, and pulled the door open to reveal her private world of magnets, textbooks, and a picture of her puppy. Her friend Sarah was already there, leaning against the lockers and whispering with the kind of wide-eyed, dramatic intensity that always signaled fresh gossip, while Emma just raised her eyebrow, skeptical but intrigued, clutching her history book. The crowd began to part just then, making way for the principal and a newcomer who seemed to change the energy of the entire hallway. It was the girl from the moving truck, Mia, walking with a confidence that seemed to take up the whole hallway in her leather jacket and heavy combat boots. Those boots made a distinct, deliberate sound on the linoleum, a sharp contrast to the soft scuff of everyone else's sneakers. Emma found herself staring, completely intrigued, and she might have even held her breath for a second. Then Mia looked over, their eyes meeting in a brief, silent exchange. Emma looked away instantly, feeling the heat of an awkward blush creep into her cheeks from the sheer embarrassment of being caught. The 8 a.m. bell rang out across the school, and the hallway became a blur of motion as students rushed to find their classrooms. In homeroom, Emma sat at her wooden desk, staring at the empty chair beside her as Mr. Johnson began scratching out the day's notes on the chalkboard. When the door swung open, every head in the room turned as if on a swivel. Mr. Johnson introduced Mia, who stood there looking bored but undeniably cool. When the teacher gestured for her to sit right next to Emma, the introverted teen suddenly found herself very busy organizing her pencils, trying to look occupied while her heart raced. Mia slid into the seat, her heavy canvas messenger bag covered in band patches and safety pins, hitting the floor with a satisfying thud. Emma tried to sneak a glance from the corner of her eye, but Mia caught her, offering a small, cool smirk in return. Her response was a smile so awkward she felt as though she had a literal sweat drop on her temple. Summoning her courage, she tore a piece of notebook paper and scribbled, "Hi, I'm Emma," before sliding the folded note across the wooden gap between their desks. Mia opened it with chipped black fingernails and pulled out a marker of her own. The reply she slid back was simple and perfect. "Cool flannel, I'm Mia." Emma couldn't hide her beam of happiness, clutching the paper to her chest as if it were a precious prize. When the lunch bell finally rang, the room erupted into the usual chaos of papers and bags. Mia stood up, but for the first time that day, she looked a little lost, unsure of where to go in the sea of social circles. Sensing the moment, Emma hesitated for only a heartbeat before standing up and tapping Mia on the shoulder. With a friendly smile, Emma gestured for the new girl to follow her. They navigated the loud, busy cafeteria where trays clattered and the air was thick with the smell of square pizza and steamed corn. Emma led Mia to a sunlit table by the window, far enough away from the popular groups that they could actually hear themselves think. As they sat, Mia took a bite of the school pizza and immediately made a face of hilarious disgust, which sent Emma into a fit of laughter. The ice was well and truly broken. Mia pulled out her own Walkman, a different, sleeker model than Emma's, and Emma's eyes lit up with recognition. The cassette inside had a handwritten mixtape label, a true mark of 1997 friendship. Mia offered Emma one earbud, and they sat there sharing the music, their heads nodding to a beat that seemed to create colorful waves of energy all around them. It turned the drab cafeteria into something vibrant and new, and Emma found herself genuinely impressed. They talked and talked, forgetting all about their food as they swapped stories with animated gestures. Sarah walked by and stopped cold, looking surprised to see Emma so deep in conversation with the mysterious newcomer. Emma didn't miss a beat, waving Sarah over to join them at the window. Sarah was clearly intimidated by the leather jacket at first, but Mia reached into her pocket and offered a stick of gum, a simple peace offering that settled the nerves. Soon, all three girls were laughing together, a genuine bond forming under the fluorescent lights. When the final bell rang, they spilled out of the school and onto the steps, which were bathed in the golden hour glow of the late afternoon. Emma and Mia walked together past the empty bike racks and along the quiet suburban sidewalks. A car drove past with its windows down. When Mia stopped to tie her combat boot lace, Emma simply waited, enjoying the easy silence of a new friend. They reached the street corner where they had to go their separate ways, and Emma felt a sudden pang of sadness that the day was coming to an end. But Mia had one more surprise. She pulled a Sharpie from her pocket, grabbed Emma's hand, and began to write. In bold black ink, Mia's landline number appeared right on Emma's palm. "Call me," Mia said with a grin, "if your mom isn't using the phone." Emma laughed, waving goodbye as Mia skated away on her skateboard, her silhouette fading into the burning orange of the sunset. Emma walked the rest of the way home with a wide, permanent smile, keeping her hand steady to protect the fresh ink. Once inside, she tossed her keys on the table and went straight for the phone, sitting down with the receiver in hand. As she began to dial the number on her palm, the world seemed full of new possibilities. And so, as the sun dips below the horizon, we leave Emma right where the best stories begin, on the edge of a new friendship, waiting for the first ring.